If you want to do SEO in the near future, you have to stop working on prompting and you have to start thinking on policy. How do I reword the model that I'm building for automating SEO? That's a big mindset shift that I'm advocating right now.
When it comes to WordLift, does it help in any of these, or is just AI optimization platform?
I can quickly build an in-depth SEO audit with Agent WordLift in a multi-agent mode, something that would have taken me maybe 4 days. Now it takes me maybe 20 or 30 minutes. And so in Semantic SEO, the reality is that you don't focus on the keyword, you focus on the entity. I believe that the future is on local, small language models.
Welcome to the Agency Insider Show. I'm Navneet Kaushal, and today I've got a guest who is reshaping how we look at SEO. He's the co-founder of WordLift and one of the world's foremost minds on semantic search, knowledge graph, and AI-powered content marketing. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for the invite. I'm excited, and it's a great time to be in SEO.
Yes, I think it's never been a good time or great time to be in the SEO. Now, yeah, Andrew, I've followed your journey from publishing to building one of the advanced semantic SEO platforms. So I'm curious, what sparked your obsession with the structured data?
Yeah, you're right. It's an obsession. I think it starts 25 years ago when the vision of the semantic web was laid out by the inventor of the World Wide Web. And for those of you that haven't read the paper in Scientific American, a paper was shared about this vision of creating a web of data. And there is an important part in this paper that introduced the notion of agents going around the web and looking for information. And because this information is made machine friendly, they can use it and compute it. And 25 years forward, we are here today, and we finally see the agentic web becoming a mainstream phenomena. And we have websites that have to become conversational interfaces, and everything has changed in search after, again, 25 years of Google being the predominant gatekeeper.
Now, how do you define semantic SEO to clients who still think in keywords and backlinks?
So semantic SEO, it is all about focusing on entities and edges. So everything that we do in content will come down to the essence of a graph. In a graph, it's made of concepts and how they are put in relation together. Now, again, fast forward in the world of large language model, and you will discover that a language model is trained by co-occurrences. And so as we work with a semantic SEO approach, we start to focus on what terms are occurring the most together. And by doing that, we build these conceptual relationships that can shape the way in which an AI responds. So in semantic SEO, the reality is that you don't focus on the keyword, you focus on the entity. An entity can be as abstract as the concept of peace, or it can be as concrete as headphones, product, or an article that we have published on a blog. So the entities are put in relationship by means of semantic relationships that are declared. So one of the beauty of the semantic web is that, and of structured data, is that we can declare not only the entity, not only the attributes of the entity, but how they are put together in a relationship.
Okay, now you spoke about the entity SEO. So I mean, why do you think the entity-based SEO is going to be the most important future-proof form of optimization?
I think that there are a lot of interesting aspects when we look at symbolic AI and the semantic web stack and agents. And why 25 years ago in this paper that introduced the concept semantic web, the notion of agent was first introduced. The main idea of an agent is that it can act on behalf of a human for doing tasks like searching for the best product or finding fact checking a piece of information. Now, when doing this job, we want to have grounded and reliable sources. And grounding has a lot to do with knowledge graphs and entities. Grounding is a way in which we can steer an AI system towards specific triples of facts. Now, a basic example: if you want to ask about what is the place where you can buy, I don't know, the cheapest training shoes for your for running, you need to have precise information about the price of these products. An agent needs to have this precise information in order to infer what is the place where they can buy at a cheaper price.
Right.
Now, these are concepts and entities that can be defined with structured data, and there's no other way to do so, because of course, in order for a system to be reliable and grounded, it needs to have semantic information available in such a way that it can be computed. And so that's why structured data is playing an important role in a world where LLMs are becoming the main interface for search.
Now, so according to you, what will be the simplest way for agencies or brand to start building their own knowledge graph? Because I think knowledge graph is also a part of the whole semantic and the entity SEO.
Yeah, so when you start creating the entities, and how do you build an entity? What is an entity? Because an entity, can be shaped as a web page that describes a specific person or an organization or a local business or a product.
Right.
I can shape an entity even just by using text and HTML semantics. So no structured data, no markup, no embedded metadata. Just a page which is well structured can provide enough semantics to an LLM and let the LLM understand the attributes that describe the entity. So if you want a data, it's just a simplification of what we can do with just text. So an entity can be even a page as long as it's structured in such a way that it's self-consistent and well describe the attributes of the entity that I'm representing. It can be represented with structured data, so I can inject some embedded metadata in the form of micro formats, JSON LD, you name it, RDFA, so the different metadata standards that we use across the web to make this page machine friendly. But then all of this information can be brought into a knowledge graph. And why do we want to bring it into a knowledge graph? Because there is an advantage in bringing this into a knowledge graph, because then we can train our own AI on this graph. So when I need to create a piece of content for you, because I have a knowledge graph, I know that I can train that model when it speaks about that entity and all the entity around it by looking at the content that I have around this, entity architecture. And so I can use it for training my language model. So you want to have a knowledge graph because you want to build your own AI system.
Okay. So, so when it comes to so WordLift, does it help in any of these, or is just AI optimization platform?
So WordLift at its foundation is a knowledge graph, optimized and designed for SEO. So WordLift acts as a memory layer. It's a twin of your website. in a way, it's very similar to a concept that a few weeks ago Microsoft introduced called NL Web. Now, NL Web is short for Natural Language Web, and it's nothing but a model context protocol. It's a wrapper on top of your content that structures the content in schema. So that's what WordLift does. We've been doing this for many years now. A knowledge graph built with WordLift is nothing but a queen of your website that makes your content machine friendly and accessible to conversational agents. So that's what WordLift does in its essence. It's like an interface for the agentic web.
Okay. Now, you spoke about AI agents and as well. So let's talk a bit about AI agents and, of course, prompt-driven optimization. Now, AI agents are everywhere, from SGE to ChatGPT plugins. I mean, you can call this era as an agentic SEO. So, so what do you mean when people talk about agentic SEO, and what changes in approaches are required by agencies to ensure that they are optimizing for this version of the SEO or the web?
I think there are two sides to this discussion that we should focus on. On one side, agentic SEO is how agency shall automate some of the marketing workflow using AI. And that's one side of the coin. Like, how do I optimize at scale thousands of PDPs on an e-commerce website, or how do I make my client's website more visible on Reddit? On the other side, agentic SEO has to do with how I make my content easy to be accessed by LLMs. And so there are two sides of agentic SEO. On one side, you want to focus on automation for agencies. And so what is the infrastructure that you need? Can you, for example, just get a subscription from ChatGPT and start creating content for your clients with that? Is it sufficient to I don't know, run a crawl with Screaming Frog and build embeddings to understand topical cluster on a client website? These are the type of thinking that you should make when you start to approach agentic SEO from the agency perspective. But agentic SEO, it's also how we make the content accessible to generative AI search engine. So what we would call, or some would call, GEO, or IAO, answer engine optimization. So these are kind of the two sides of agentic SEO that I think we should focus on.
Okay, and so in one of your interviews, you spoke about becoming a prompt master is the key. So what does this mean in a content strategy context?
So, well, no, let me clarify this. What I said recently, I went to an event, We Make Future, and I went on a stage and I said, well, in 2021, I went on a stage at Brighton SEO and I told to every SEO they should become prompt engineer. So that was 4 years ago. And and when I say that 4 years ago, because it was before the arrival of ChatGPT, people look at me as if I was crazy. They say, "What is prompt engineering, and why SEO should become master of prompt engineering?" Now I'm not saying that. Now I'm saying, hey, everything should boil down to policy, because you have to build your own agents to do SEO. And in order to build your own agent, as well as understanding how generative AI search works, you need to practice with reinforcement learning. And so you have to design policy. So if you want to do SEO in the near future, you have to stop working on prompting and you have to start thinking on policy. How do I reword the model that I'm building for automating SEO? That's a big mindset shift that I'm advocating right now.
Okay.
So for example, prompt,
yes. So when you talk about AI agents, building AI agents for your own workflow, so is that a workflow? Is there a specific platforms right now you recommend for this, or you are platform agnostic?
So of course, I've been developing agents for WordLift since now over a couple of years. So we do have, I think, a terrific SEO agent, which is called Agent WordLift, that we use in conjunction with the knowledge graph to automate SEO tasks on very large websites. Now, this can be used as a blueprint for anyone to start employing agents into their workflows. And so where do we start using agents? We can start by looking at the business value that we can reach with automation. So we want to focus on automating specific tasks with Agentic SEO where there is business value and the task is repeatable. And we do have a clear function for evaluating risks and controlling hallucinations. And so my suggestion is to start playing with platforms like Zapier or Make or NA10 and familiarize with the idea of a flow. This is not really agentic, meaning that a flow that I can build with NA10 has a limited agency because there are steps that are configured in a flow. There are some LLMs component into this flow, but the agent it's limited into specific nodes of these multi-step workflow. But it's a good start. So my suggestion is to start playing with these tools. We are Agent WordLift can be, for example, used inside NA10. We have an integration with Zapier, and there is a large amount of tooling that are becoming available right now. What I'm focusing on it's make sure that we can let our client build a multi-agent system with Agent WordLift and the model context protocol. So what we're doing is we are making the model context protocol interact with your website and with different agents so that we can do different tasks at once. So right now, I can quickly build an in-depth SEO audit with Agent WordLift in a multi-agent mode in maybe 40 minutes. In something that would have taken me maybe 4 days, now it takes me maybe 20 or 30 minutes. A few days ago, I shared the workflow where using our agent, I compare the visibility of your Instagram insert with your visibility on traditional organic search, and I run a comparison on one of our client websites in a full agentic mode. So I get a very deep report in matter of minutes that would have required a lot of human labor before. So the agentic SEO it's here, and we should all start using it with different tools and different ways. There are some elements that we have to consider. We have to always understand what should be automated, where is the business value behind this automation that we're building, and how are we, de-risking this automation? How are we mitigating the risk of the automation that we're bringing into the picture? Is there a human in the loop? Is there a multi-step review process? Is there a model that we are retraining as we improve the system? How are we making it better from day one? So these are kind of the suggestions that I have.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about structured data, of course, and EE80 and how you can synergize them with AI. Now, how does structured data schema help establish EE80 signals?
So there are several classes in the schema vocabulary that we can leverage on in order to send these signals.
Okay.
So let's go through them. So of course we can use a schema person or people profile. I think it's another interesting class that can be used. But what is relevant again when I think about semantic SEO, I always
Mhm.
have to think in an holistic way. So I don't want to think in terms of a single entity. I want to always think in terms of relationships. So what are the relationships that can establish EAT and provide authority to an external AI system? The relationship between, for example, an individual and a different organization the individual is affiliated with brings a lot of value. Let me give you an
Okay.
example. If I have to speak about hedge funds and I'm not affiliated with any financial institution, I'm not going to be relevant for anything that I would write about hedge funds. However, if I speak about, for example, semantic AI, because of my affiliation with different organizations in the sector, I am pretty much credible. So the relationship between a person and the affiliated organization is one of these kind of leverage that you want to use. Another important
Okay.
leverage is of course the topicality. Like how can I help an AI system understands that Andrea has been writing about embeddings since 2021 in the context of SEO? Well, the only way that I can do that is by establishing a relationship with the article and the person. So I want to make it as accessible as possible to AI system and search engines and crawlers,
Mhm.
the author profile and the links between the person and the content. So person and organization, very valuable for EAT. Person and previously written content, very relevant. How do I do this? So I want to for sure bring all the structured data into the article so that as a crawler or as a LLM, I don't need to go to the author page to learn that you are credible in SEO because you are affiliated with page traffic, for example. I want to make the information accessible, by pulling into,
Okay.
the relevant pages. And that's one way in which we can use, structured data for kind of building a semantic index that makes information machine friendly and compact for an AI system, an LLM, or a crawler that needs to answer a question and needs to assess if you're credible or not.
Okay. So when we talk about making these accessible and so most of the time people think EAT is just simply putting a biodata and thinking that that's how the EAT is. Now, what do you think other mistakes do businesses make when they are trying to send an EAT signal and above that when they are trying to scale the schema markup?
So when you scale the schema markup, the biggest threat is that you overdo it because of the way in which the vocabulary is built. You can
Mhm.
add a lot of stuff into your schema, but you should instead be extremely conservative because you want to do more with less. And
Okay.
you might end up in a situation where you're using semantic data, but you are in fact thinking in terms of keyword stuffing, and you don't want to do that because that's exactly the
Right.
opposite of what you want to achieve with schema. With schema, you want to
Right.
focus on the least amount of relationship, the least amount of semantics that can move the needle. Now, what does
Okay.
that mean? How do you move the needle? I mean, do you move the needle because you are triggering a rich results on SERP? Do you move the needle because you are putting two entities within in relationship? You are moving the needle because you are focusing on the co-occurrence of one entity with some related concept. How are you moving the needle? You cannot do everything at once because of course a machine has a limited capability of understanding the intent. So that's one. The other risk that that people make is that when thinking about EAT, is that you know, everyone is a vector in a system. Every person, every author, in the end, it's a vector. So it's a representation in numerical numbers, and this vector is built with the content that has been written before by the same person. And so for you to be credible, you need a track record, you need history, you need, peer-reviewed articles that have been published across different outlets. You are not credible because you think you are credible. You're credible for a machine because you can be transformed into a very explicit vector of relationship with a certain topics. And so as much as a website needs to be, focus on a core set of entities, and that's going to be what I would call the ontological core of that website. An author as a person needs to be credible within a specific set of topics and entities. And that's extremely important, and people forget about it because they say, well, I mean, at least it's a human being. At least it's not, it's not a robot. But that's not enough. I mean, a robot can be more credible than a human being as long as, it's creating its own synthetic authority. I think Yono had wrote a beautiful piece about synthetic authority, and I totally agree with him. I mean, an AI can be extremely more valuable in researching and writing about content as long as it has something specific that that makes it unique in writing, I don't know, reviews about headphones or testing scooters, whatever.
Okay, now, so do you think YouTube as a semantic branding platform?
I think YouTube is essential these days because of a lot of communication becoming more and more visual, and because of Google trying to win back on younger generation against TikTok and introducing the shorts and promoting a lot of video content on its SERP. I think YouTube is definitely a key branding platform for your for establishing your entity. I think that Instagram, it's becoming it is clearly a platform for your semantic identity to be worked on.
Okay, now so do you think semantic SEO principles can be applied for optimizing YouTube videos?
Definitely. I mean, again, what can I do in a YouTube video? There are a lot of things that I can do when I build the content. I can again reinforce the relationship. We have to consider that since the introduction of Google Mom, Google and the major AI platform have become multimodal and multi-language. So there is a less difference between the modalities than it used to be. So if I record this podcast with you, whatever I'm saying, it's going to be used for building my topical authority. And right now I'm experimenting with the team at Google Cloud with Gemini Live API. And the Gemini Live API is the API that runs the Marvin agent that Google demonstrated at Google I/O and in previous presentation. Now, the Gemini Live API, you can also use it from the Gemini app when you click on, the specific icons that and allows you to switch from text to voice to video. And when you start dealing with such a model, you realize that multimodality it's at the core of the understanding of content. So there's not really a difference if you write an article or if you record a podcast like this anymore.
Okay. So besides talking about the YouTube, so So what, according to you, is the best way to use video metadata, title, descriptions, transcript, to build a knowledge graph?
So I think that the video object class and schema, it's been it's quite rich in presenting video content, and it does brings its own value on SERP, because of course we've been also among the first experimenter of some of the new attributes, some of the once new attributes like the fragments. You can also in structured data, you can also define a fragment of the video that can be indexed. Now, all of these, of course, it's now less relevant because of these multimodal models being able to read a video much like they read text. However, there is always a value when the publisher provides an indication of what is contained and what are the chapters of the video. And so I think there is still quite interesting value in adding markup on your video. I always think in terms of what is going to be relevant for your AI system, because what is going to be relevant for your next AI, it's what is relevant for Google and any other AI system. So we have to think in these terms, like what type of metadata do I need behind my video? For example, do I need to have a very detailed metadata about the people in the show? And like in this case, absolutely, you want to have that. Do I want to detail on the key topics that the episode is covering? Of course, you want to do that. I mean, while we are in an area of multimodality, we are also in the area of semantics, and so we want to convey meanings because some topics are more interesting for you than others, and so you want to make them explicit in your metadata.
Okay, now so let's talk a little bit about AI plus human workflow design for agencies. I mean, as an agency owner, we are trying to create better workflows, and you also spoken about AI as a collaborator, not a replacement. Now, what does an ideal SEO plus AI workflow looks like for an agency team to you?
So I always suggest to start from the end of the process, and again defining whatever mitigation strategy you can put in place to make sure that that workflow can run over time. Because of
Okay.
course we've been doing a lot of workflows on a lot of websites for different sites, many pages. The end of the day is that there's always something that goes wrong, and so you as an agency you want to start thinking and spending time on planning before doing, and you want to understand and focus on what can go wrong, because there is a lot of stake. Like an automation that is not successful can ruin the brand, can jeopardize the rankings, and so you want to start with assessing the risks of the automation, and then you want to look at the data, because again, because everything can be automated, because everything is so accessible with AI, how are you making a difference between with the competitors? Because you think you're smarter, or because you have something unique and special? I think that we have to build on the uniqueness, and we have to focus on a niche, and so we have to do certain things very well, and we need to have very, very valuable data in order to make a difference. When people approach AI, they always start with, well, I mean, I can do this with the prompt on ChatGPT. And of course, there is a lot of stuff that you can do with a prompt on ChatGPT. However, when you're scaling, what is working for, let's say, 10 pages is not going to work for 100 pages. And when you're moving from 100 pages to 1,000 pages, the game is completely different. And so, once again, you want to think in terms of data quality. You want to think in terms of edge cases. So, how are you going to mitigate the risk when the edge cases hits you? And then you want to think in terms of planning, because you're going to start small. You're going to start with maybe 3, 4 items, and then you want to scale it to 10, and then you want to scale it to 50, and then from 50 you want to scale it to 100. Usually it takes for us 100 samples in order to train a model that can mitigate some of the high risks. That means that you have a human in the loop at least between 0 and 100 cycles. And after these 100 cycles, then you can assume that you have learned enough to bring this know-how into, let's say, a fine-tuned model, if you're generating content, for example. But until you get to these 100 samples, I question how can you, rely on a third-party AI system that you have no control on it. I don't understand. I mean, I've been trained, of course, to work with very large brands where, of course, a minimal change can make a lot of damage.
Right.
But I think that this is true for everyone. I mean, every brand that wants to grow doesn't want to jeopardize because of a, misalignment problem or hallucination or a badly configured workflow. So yeah, these are my suggestions.
Okay. And what advice do you have for agencies still trying to sell AI to traditional clients?
I think AI, it's a process. It's one of the most human intensive technologies that we have created, even though the narrative around AI is exactly the opposite. So as an agency, you are on the front line of this change. You are the first one that can see the beauty of AI automation and can see the pain of AI automation. Because once again, we are not in front of a technology that it is to be considered reliable. We see it every day with Google, getting wrong AI overview or providing false positive responses in Google AI mode. So even Google fails to use AI in a proficient and reliable way. So as an agency, I think that our role is to teach clients that AI, it's a process. It is meant to augment human capacity. It is not designed to replace human. However, if applied correctly, it can create an amazing boost in productivity.
Okay. And so now let's talk about the future of SEO in a multimodal AI native world. So let's fast forward to 2026. Now, what do you think will be the most important SEO ranking factors for 12 months from now?
I don't think we're going to talk about ranking factors in 2026. I hope we're not going to talk about ranking factors that much. I mean, we're already talking a lot about, for example, asset ranking, which is an expression that is not so clear, but we are starting to look at the importance of semantic units called chunks. So one of the things that in 2026 will be more and more relevant is going to be the concept of multimodal chunks. And because as we mentioned previously, language model can deal with text, audio, or video with the same capacity. And so it is up to us to focus on the key essential information that we want this system to retain. And so we want to get back to semantic unity. Now, when for example, an AI mode is composed, or when an AI overview is composed, or when Google is providing an answer to AI mode, Google is no longer thinking in terms of pages; it's thinking in terms of semantic chunks. So these are, kind of small and self-consistent sentences that can answer a very specific query or subquery. And I think that's going to be an important paradigm shift that we need to adapt in 2025, and it will be even more important in 2026.
Okay, and how do you see the role of content marketers evolving in an AI native search experience?
So generally speaking, I think that content shouldn't be considered static. We for too long we have relied on these um, model where a content creator write a piece, that piece is published as an HTML on a web server, and then there is a crawler that comes, gets these static HTML, brings it into an index, and then these index data can be queried by a user. I think that a lot of these is collapsing into a chatbot. And right now, chatbot are using retrieval augmented generation or graph retrieval augmented generation, and so there is still a user because there is still curiosity and demands of information on one side, and then there is a creator on the other side.
Okay.
The main difference
Right.
is that in this chatbot ecosystem, the content shouldn't be static. We don't need to rely on a RAG, meaning that the RAG shouldn't retrieve content that is static from a web page. And so as a content marketer, I shouldn't think in terms of an article. I should think in terms of, what are the entities that I need to promote? What are the relationships that I'm going to build? And then I'm going to adapt with my own AI system, the content to whatever agent I have on the other side. So practically speaking, again, natural language web, it's a good concept introduced by Microsoft. Again, it's an evolution, if you want, of the model context protocol. You have an agent that comes on one side. You have an ontological core that has been created by the organization, the content creators, and then you have an AI that talks either using agent to agent or model context protocol with the agent that is coming on the other side. So you have two agents that are talking to each other, and they're providing the right answer, and the answer is every time different and highly personalized. So as a content editor, you don't want to think in terms of pages. You want to think in terms of customer journey. You want to think in terms of very complex questions that you want to be able to answer with your AI system. And so what type of data do you need in your AI system to provide these, very sophisticated answers?
Now, out of all these, what exactly WordLift helps with, and how has it evolved from the product when you started it?
So WordLift has greatly evolved because we started as a WordPress plugin that was able to build a knowledge graph from static WordPress pages. And then it became a platform that you can use for building knowledge graph with any type of content, whether the content is coming from your, enterprise CMS, or it's coming from, it's a product from Shopify, or it's a review written in Trustpilot. So WordLift has become an over-the-top semantic layer that you can plug on top of your publishing platform to interact with AI and to build your AI, because you can use WordLift in its different forms in order to create the content that you need to serve to the agentic web that you have to deal with.
Okay, and so what are you personally excited to build next at WordLift?
So I'm very much excited about creating reasoning models that use the data in the graph in order to automate tasks and to provide specialized answer in the enterprise and marketing context. So I'm very excited about the way in which we're starting to train reasoning model using ontologies, because this is a way in which we're bringing semantics into the hands of agents, and we can start creating highly personalized agents. Like Agent WordLift right now, when it works in a multi-agent system, to, let's say, understand the drop of the click-through rates due to AI overview, the agent needs to think and needs to have a thinking model on and that helps it understand, okay, first I want to go in Google Search Console and I want to get the data from Search Console, and then I'm going to analyze for each query the SERP and try to see where there is AI overview. Then I can see where, you know, the drop of clicks has to do with AI overview and where the drop of clicks has to do with lack of you know, content or quality of content. So these reasoning steps, we are kind of encoding it into Agent WordLift. And so I can now spin out multiple agents in parallel that would look at your traffic and try to understand, okay, well, there is a drop of click-through rate. Now, this drop is related to AI overview being present. This drop is related to the fact that the content is not competitive or it's not, hasn't been updated for too long. And so this type of reasoning, now we are encoding into the agent. So the agent can do the work of an entire agency. And that's pretty terrific. And that's where I'm putting a lot of my focus right now.
All right. All right. So that was and now one last question before we wrap up. Which LLM right now is your favorite?
The one that I trained. There's no LLM that is my favorite other than the one that I train. I believe that the future is on local small language model. The model that I shared recently, like a month ago, for automating SEO task has been trained on Gemma 4B, which is an open source model from Google, and it's been trained using reinforcement learning as an ontology. And that's a model I can trust because that's a model that I trained with my policy. And so it's been rewarded with the things that I know are well executed, and it's been penalized with the things that I know are badly executed. So that's the only LLM you want to trust. So in the future, you're not going to make this question. You're going to just ask what good LLM you have to share with me today.
Okay, so is there a good LLM or an agent you have today to share with me?
So I'm working on it. I'm gonna soon write an article to share how everyone can build a model, because again, it is about democratizing this technology and making sure that every agency can train their own model, because again, every agency is different and you want to keep this difference. You want to keep differentiating yourself. And when a client will say, hey, I'm using ChatGPT for doing this, you will say, well, yes, you can, but guess what? I have paid traffic LLM that has all the experience that NetMeet has acquired over the course of the year, whether you trust it or not, but I know it's better than ChatGPT. And so that's the evolution that I want to foster and share with all of you today.
That sounds very exciting, because most of the time the LLMs these days hallucinate a lot, and you see all the time it's I mean, you cannot be sure about, they are very sure about the data, but you cannot be sure about what the LLMs talks about. So that becomes a big...
I mean, there's a problem of hallucination. There's a problem of lack of control. There's a problem of lack of differentiation. Let's be honest. I mean, if you're going to write a piece of content with your ChatGPT Pro or your fantastic Gemini, how is it going to be different from the content that someone else is writing with the same model? I mean, yes, I have a better prompt. Okay, this is what I say in 2021. In 2021, I ask everyone, become a prompt master, because you're going to make a difference with your prompts. Right now, sorry, because prompts are, you know, can be self-created by the LLM themselves, you're not going to make such a difference. And so in order to make your difference, you have to start designing a policy, meaning you have to start saying, this is good, this is not good, and then use reinforcement learning or reinforcement learning with human feedback and whatnot in order to create a personalized agentic experience that characterizes your agency and makes it different and unique from, you know, anyone else using an off-the-shelf language model.
Right. So with this, we come to the end of our show, and thank you for your brilliant masterclass on the semantic and the AI, and of course the models. Now, Andrea, where can people follow your latest work?
So I'm active on X, as Cyber Andy, and I'm active on Blue Sky as Cyber Andy, and I'm active as on LinkedIn as Andrea Volpini. We have a beautiful blog on WordLift.io where you can follow the activities that we do in the lab and the activity that we do with our clients and our product.
Okay. All right, Andrea, thank you once again for giving me your time.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, and to everyone listening, this is one of those episodes you are going to want to re-listen to, especially about the LLMs and the shorter LLMs, how you can have your own LLM model for that matter's sake. And thank you once again. And to all of you tuning in, keep optimizing, keep learning, and keep building a future-ready brand. Thank you. I'm just going to end the